Well, well, well. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you like, but yet another Christmas market in Europe has been cancelled. On this occasion, it is in Londonderry/Derry, depending on which way you pronounce it in Northern Ireland. Officially, it's because an old building began crumbling in October, and in fact, the council has done nothing about it. But once again, we've seen this suspicious rise in Christmas market cancellations. Equally, we've seen a suspicious rise in accidental fires at Christian churches. The reality is, we are bringing people to this country from the third world, and they are launching attacks against the Christian community, but we are not brave enough to admit it. Let me talk you through the whole subject and see where we get. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, please donate to the Patriot Fund. We are supporting people who are under attack for being patriotic in this country, and your small donations really, really help. Okay, so what do I say to avoid being fake news? Okay, so first of all, I will tell you that the number of arson attacks on Christian churches has not increased. That is to say, the total number of recorded crimes is up a little bit, but it's not up a lot. The total number of accidental fires in Christian churches, well, that's gone up 4 or 5 times over. That is to say that for every one Christian church that burnt down before uncontrolled immigration started in about 1999, there are now about 5 of them that accidentally burned down. Now, some of those will be as a result of the fact that areas are changing, that the Christian community is being moved out in favour of a Muslim community, and so many of the churches are empty, and obviously an empty building is much more susceptible to accidental fire than one that is fully occupied, because stuff piles up and discarded cigarette butts and things like that can get thrown through windows, or whatever it is. I'm not a fire expert, but I don't think that accounts for all of them. And so we've seen this massive increase. Now, interestingly, and this is where I think it becomes really important, the number of accidental fires in churches is increasing right across Europe, and indeed it is increasing in Canada. Countries that have had uncontrolled immigration from the Islamic world are all seeing these remarkable upticks. So tell us now about Christmas market. Well, on the face of it, the old Pump House pub in Londonderry, which is the old Convent of Mercy, Convent of Mercy, Convent, awful name. I don't know the place. I know Belfast, I don't know Londonderry or Derry, but what I will say is, yet again, we've seen an example of how Christmas markets have had to alter. Right across Europe, they have been cancelled in the face of threats from jihadis. We've also seen in Britain those large barriers going up now to ensure that nobody attempts to drive into people at the Christmas market. Most countries and most cities in Europe now have firearms officers protecting their Christmas markets, and it is a sad state of affair. And what it feels like is a country, a community that is under siege from more recent settlers to the United Kingdom. And as you know, I do call them settlers simply because I think the word immigration is irrelevant. I think we should talk about occupation and settlements. And by the way, talking of the way that there is a remarkable hypocrisy over settlements, I said on my TV show last night something which I'm quite proud of. We're going on and on and on about the way that the West Bank and Gaza are being ruled by being ruled by Israel. It's not strictly true to say that in the case of Gaza, but okay, let's just pretend that Greta Thunberg's telling the truth. And of course, what has happened in the war of '67, both the West Bank and Gaza Strip were taken by Israel, taken by force by Israel. Oh, isn't it terrible? Just 145 miles away, there is another country that was invaded where half of its territory is held by a foreign country who literally one day arrived and invaded. That country is Cyprus. Northern Cyprus is a part of Turkey. It calls itself the Republic of Northern Cyprus, but it is in fact effectively a region of Turkey. Cyprus had previously been an independent country. People talk about the Turkish side and the Greek side. That's not true. There's the Turkish side and the independent side, and then actually there's a third country which is called British Sovereign Territory. But let's not get into that. Isn't it amazing, though, the way that there is one rule for one and another rule for another? Because Turkey is an Islamic nation, it is allowed to invade territory, whereas because Israel is a Jewish nation, it's not. Because Turks are Muslim, their settlers are allowed to move into the homes of the Greek population that they threw out, whereas in the West Bank, the Jews are not even allowed to build houses on the land that they got after they were attacked in 67. What a remarkable level of hypocrisy this is. And what we won't see is we won't see any of the terrorism mitigation barriers, any of the firearms officers at Eid and Ramadan. There won't be a need in Oxford Street to turn off the lights for Ramadan in the way that the Hanukkah lights were turned off, because there is no threat to Ramadan, there is no threat to Eid, but there is a threat to Christmas and there is a threat to Hanukkah. And I think now we will never know whether the council in Londonderry is telling the truth. But let's just go back to that original statistic. Oh, by the way, I do believe the Pump House pub is falling down, right? I accept that, but I think also there's a lot of factors at play. Let's talk about Aston Villa in a minute. But it's amazing, isn't it? The number of migrants from the third world goes up, the number of Christmas markets goes down. The number of migrants from the third world goes up, the number of the number of accidental fires at churches go up, the number of migrants from the third world go up, the amount of SA and R and grooming goes up. There is no doubt that there is a migrant crime wave. And let's talk about Aston Villa for a moment. Well, of course, that community advisory group, safety advisory group, I think it was called, of course they're going to say that it was all to do with Maccabi Tel Aviv and their behaviour. But also at the back of their mind is, what are we going to do to avoid inflaming community relations? And what is it that is so inflammatory for community relations? What is inflammatory is allowing a Jew to visit the town of Aston. That is crazy and something that's incredibly dangerous. And I think Jewish people have every right to turn around and say, hey, look, many of us came here in 1700 when usury was legalized for Jewish people. Was allowed for Jewish people, whereas it wasn't allowed for Christians. That is, interest rates, basically, which is why Jews are accused of being involved in banking, because historically they were. Okay, so they've been there for 300, 400 years, whereas people who've been here for maybe 20 or 30 years are the people that are pushing them out. Who are the crusaders? Who are the settlers? Who are the people that are causing all the trouble in our society right now? And I'm afraid it's not every single Muslim, but it is the sheer volume of those people. Christmas markets are under threat. And we now know that Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and various other Iranian-backed groups have come to the UK. We know that they've come in from small boats. Remember what you're told about small boats. We don't know who's on them, but we definitely know. We don't know anything about them other than they're definitely not dangerous. That's absolute garbage. I wonder whether what there will be this Christmas is a coordinated attack. I don't know, but I think that what will have happened in Tehran is they will have infiltrated the United Kingdom, and then they will have made sure that their operatives are ready to go at the appropriate moment. And let me finally say one thing. Imagine I'm completely wrong. Imagine that the Pump House pub, the Convent of Mercy Convent, still an awful name, was not the reason, was the reason that they were shutting the Christmas market. Reopen it. The first duty in a Christian country is to stand by our Christian society and our Christian values. And to simply cancel Christmas because a building's falling down would be in of itself garbage. Except I don't believe that. I believe that that's just the latest excuse. And actually, the real issue is that the PSNI, so experienced are they with terrorism, that they know that they can't protect the Christmas market in Londonderry from jihadists. Therefore, they're going to cancel it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe below. Until next time, goodbye.